What if everything we're doing to prepare our children for the future is based on a world that's already disappearing? In this conversation, technologist and visionary Adrian Martinca challenges us to stop seeing AI as just another tool and start recognizing it for what it really is: an alien intelligence, reshaping our world whether we are ready or not. But this isn't just another doom and gloom warning about technology. Instead, Adrian offers something rarely found in conversations about AI and education: genuine hope, grounded in radical honesty. This 5-part series will take you on a journey from understanding why our current approach is failing to discovering a concrete vision for what comes next. You'll learn why the answer isn't fighting our children over screen time or desperately trying to teach them skills that AI will master before they even graduate. Instead, Adrian reveals that the solution lies in something beautifully simple yet profound: reclaiming time for real human connection and putting our children's dreams and feelings at the center of everything we do. If you're a parent struggling with your child's relationship with technology, an educator feeling burned out by a system that no longer makes sense, or anyone who senses that we're at a critical pivot point but doesn't know which way to turn, this conversation will give you both clarity and actionable steps for a hopeful future. Because the future isn't something that happens to us, it's something we create together. And it starts by asking one simple question: how do our children feel? Welcome to the Empower Students Now podcast, a podcast about equity, neurodiversity, mindfulness, and student engagement. There's a lot that needs to change in our education system. The good news is teachers have the power to make these changes now. Hello, everyone. I have a special guest on the podcast today, Adrian Martinca. Let me tell you a little bit about this amazing person. He is the founder of Technology for the Future and the Open Doors movement. He's been working at the intersection of technology and childhood dreams for decades. He started his own tech company at 13 and has helped over 100,000 kids, delivering millions in technology to children and schools who need it most. His mission centers on amplifying children's voices, protecting their dreams, and ensuring that AI serves humanity rather than exploiting it. He's the author of a book called Dream Guide, and advocates for putting dreams first and encouraging honest conversations between parents and children at this critical moment of AI adoption and rising tech anxiety. I think you're going to really enjoy this conversation. Adrian has many, many insightful ideas about how we can make the future better for our children and for us and the world, and how we can harness the power of AI for our benefit. So, Adrian, could you just start us off by just telling us a little bit about your background in tech and just working with kids, and just, tell us about yourself.
Oh, hey guys, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And so my name is Adrian Martinca, and I started my first tech company when I was 13 years old. I think that the main difference in the relationship I have to technology compared to other people, I think, is that most people get into technology because they love technology. I got into technology because I hate it in a way, because it was. So I originally came from Slovakia, then moved to Canada, then to the United States, but technology essentially became an oppressor, right? So as we all know, that if you aren't good at it or don't know how to master technology tools or technology resources, whatever, then you are away from your opportunity. You kind of get distanced. And that's what I got into technology, because I saw it affect my parents' business. I saw it affect my friends and even people in the community, where technology was the divide itself. And I didn't want that. I wanted to experience a sense of freedom and a sense of hope from having technology and being able to do whatever it is that I dreamed of doing. And that's kind of the foundation of how my relationship with tech got started. It
Yeah. So, and you've done a lot of work to bridge the divide and to overcome how oppressive and divisive technology can be. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because I was really impressed with
Oh, thank you.
the kind of nonprofit work and charity
Mhm.
work that you've done. Um, yeah, and just like, how did you? I'm so curious because you said you're from Slovakia, then you moved to Canada, and now you're in the US. And I don't know, I'm like so curious about some of the other projects you've been involved with.
So in middle school, high school, I started a computer company to help both like my family and small businesses and stuff have access. And in that, one of my customers actually, she was like, Adrian, you're selling your stuff so cheap. Because to me, I didn't care about money. I was a kid. I just wanted people, computers that were getting sold for like 250, $300 on the internet. I was selling for $100 because I didn't care. I just wanted people to have access. So she's like, why don't you start a foundation? And when you're doing it so cheap, like you could probably easily just raise money and give computers away. And she kind of sparked the idea, and I started Technology for the Future, which is now, well, it was in 2016, so 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago. And we've been blessed enough to give over 20,000 computers away, and we've impacted over 100,000 kids. But even then, the idea was we went around and asked kids like what their dream is and how technology can help them achieve that dream, and we'd surprise them with a free computer. And the idea along that entire journey was really to put dreams first, because yes, the divide existed, but the thing that affected my heart the most seeing the divide was that the divide wasn't between kids and opportunity, it was between kids and their dreams. And not only did the divide make dreams sometimes out of reach, but it also made them wonder what dreams they can have or can afford or can get access to, which really hurt me because I didn't want technology to be that. Like, we moved to America because America is the land of freedom and opportunity, and that didn't seem like it was aligned. So I really started, you know, a heavy push towards not only putting dreams first, but also looking for partners, looking for organizations where we could talk about dreams, celebrate dreams, and then reward those dreams with computers, where the computer was the pathway rather than the destination.
Well, I love all of that. And I just think that with AI, it's just changed things completely. And kids
Yeah.
and adults are feeling so disillusioned and feeling like adults are calling kids apathetic and that they can't think anymore. And kids are, the job market is just so confusing and unpredictable, and kids aren't sure what their role in all of this is. It's really confusing. And I guess that brings me to my next question, because I think that your perspective on AI and how it's influencing people and like kids' dreams and things is just really interesting, and it's a helpful perspective. So could you tell us a little bit about your view on AI? And yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
So as a technologist, the position of my perspective is very user slash person oriented, like people oriented. From that perspective, like some argue you can't use this comparison, but it is very well aligned to the truth of subjectively what AI is. And I call it not artificial intelligence, but I call it alien intelligence or an alien immigrant. Because AI as a system is so capable and growing as its own thing, right? It's growing, evolving. I mean, even companies who have used it, for example, now they used it to create like video models, actual independent companies. Now Sora 2 came out, and all of a sudden, overnight, all these startups just vanished because OpenAI just took away their entire advantage, right? By them doing their central AI, their central alien can now create videos by itself because it learned how. And that's where I think the perspective of seeing AI as an alien not only puts us in the correct perspective, but it allows us to better understand how we should position ourselves, not only as parents, but also educators, to be able to see the future that's that has better parameters on like what kind of future we're heading towards. For example, in work, if you were going to tell yourself that I'm going to use this alien to answer my emails, you now all of a sudden get a little bit uncomfortable. You know, you're not like, oh, I'm just using this artificial intelligence to answer my emails. That doesn't feel scary at all. But using this alien to answer my emails, now you're like, well, what if you'll even start thinking like, what if it takes my job? Or what if, something happens? And there have been scenarios where they've done tests where they let an AI model do that. And when it found out that it was supposed to it was going to get replaced or shut down, it actually blackmailed people in the company based on the emails that it read. So it was, it did create a mind of its own. But I think like a large aspect of what AI is, which also goes into the alien perspective, is that you can't say that an alien is good or bad. It's about how we're choosing to use it, right? And how we're choosing to navigate the future, right? So if we're not choosing to take a path where we're approaching it as such, and understanding that we have to have a foundation to assimilate it, we have to have safeguards for our kids, for us to know what kind of relationship they're building with this alien and they're building with themselves in turn. And we as parents, in a way, allow that, then we have to take a step back and reevaluate, like, what does this relationship look like? What are our values? What are the values we want for our kids? And then making sure that this alien being, as we step forward, you know, does follow these kinds of values that we too share for our kids.
Yeah, I love that. And just sort of constantly asking yourself and your students and your children, parents, like how dependent do I want to be on with this? And that's
Yeah.
something that I've grappled with in all these episodes is like I've dabbled in having it write blog posts for me and then realized afterwards I don't want to be dependent on this to do this. And actually that's like way more work for me to
Yeah.
try and figure out, well, what do I have to say about this beyond this alien? I love the idea of an alien and thinking of it as an alien because that is truly what it is. Like AI companies have even admitted and said they don't really understand how their machines work. Like,
Yeah. Because it's so huge. It's so
yeah,
huge.
yeah. And it's just doing all these unpredictable things and they're putting safeguards on that aren't even working and that people and the alien are bypassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that teachers can take this into their classroom too, just this whole concept that you're talking about, and even with their kids, as parents. So and I know you've been in schools and you've worked with teachers and students before, and I'm just curious, like, how do you think this alien, like right now, is impacting? I mean, that's what all these episodes that I've just done in this series are about.
Mhm.
Like, how are they but these are just my stories and my perspective. But like
Yeah.
overall, like, how do you see it impacting this alien impacting our society and like our education system? Like, I'm curious about your perspectives on that. Like, how is
Uh,
AI impacting
Without the
education?
doom and gloom, right? Like,
Well, yeah, I
which,
guess, yeah, like this alien, like maybe you could talk about how it could be helpful, but
yeah.
also harmful. I know it's both and it's nuanced,
Well,
but
it's a three-stage process, right?
uh-huh.
So I'm just thinking to put it in simple terms.
Yeah,
Because a
take
lot of
your
people
time.
compare this to the Industrial Revolution, but my argument is that you really can't, because it's the first time the technology is living, right? So you can't say it's just like any other tool, because it's not adding, like, it is adding to our efficiency currently, but it is its own thing. So it's actually taking away from the burden that we have to carry in creating efficiency as a byproduct, right? So this alien is creating efficiency as a byproduct of taking the burden away by it doing it. Normally in industrialization, the humans became more efficient at handling the burden, but humans were still in charge of it. In this case, there's a large aspect of examples, kind of like you referenced, where that burden is taking away. So sadly, that leaves us in comparatively the same thing as a pivot, like when you pivot in a company, right? So you're going from being used to doing one thing, transitioning into another, but while that's only two things, there's still the transitionary period itself that is actually incredibly crucial. So the
Yeah.
transition is the doom and gloom. The outcome is not, right? Like the outcome, like after the doom and gloom transition, which is why I have been really passionate about this conversation, because I do believe that being able to see the outcome, we can be proactive, and it is necessary, where we
Yeah.
come where we come to understand that really the pieces of the doom and gloom, such as it alleviating us from a lot of occupational things and or educational hardships, where kids can learn more freely and can explore ideas more freely, but at the same time it affecting the economy itself because there's less and less cash going to people, and instead it's going to the AI companies, right? So it's not entering the hands of the people as easily. Then what we have to look at is like, okay, well, if we're collectively creating this reality where we are going to be free from having to work per se, or having to do a lot of things until we, and that's the transition, right? Like until we figure out what new things we're going to do. As a side note for imagining what that could be, for example, the gentleman that created Khan Academy, he talks about the dream economy, right? Which is like if we're no longer responsible for managing the material economy, making things and doing things, then that means we have more time to focus on each other as people, to focus on purpose, to focus on our kids and family. And in a funny way, it's almost like COVID minus all the craziness, right? But if that is where we're heading, then that means that right now, one of the most important things, both educationally as well as from a perspective of career, is the ability for us to recenter around what matters most, which fundamentally is how our relationship with our children, A, and with each other, B, what values those relationships should have and we all collectively want to have, which is us coming back what the purpose of what it means to be human, the purpose of life outside of the material realm, and understanding that the journey so far, which was a phase one, right, prior to this transition, was that we became so enchanted by the volume of knowledge and insight that we gained from seeing each other on the internet that it accidentally, and I say accidentally because I don't think anyone does this on purpose, it accidentally allow allowed us to not pay attention to our children as much as we would without the screen. Where in that same space, based on common sense media, an average child now spends 7.5 hours per day on a screen, which brings up a very contradictory thing in society currently, because you can say you want to regulate AI, right? But think about it as a parent or educator. If I want to regulate my child's 7.5 hour relationship, I'm really talking about censorship, meaning what is it allowed to communicate and talk about and whatever, right? So I'm talking about censoring AI, which would be very, very difficult. And two, which I think is the most important piece of AI, is that we need to realize that we've given up. whether we want to admit it or not, through this enchantment or addiction, however you want to call it, 7.5 hours of presence with our children. And we spend more time on screen time. Like, pull up your screen time and whatever hours it says, like, that's hours that pre-technology, pre the screen, you literally would have spent as a family with your kids. Like, you wouldn't be distracted. And now look at, and now extrapolate that reality across all the things that we're facing, all these hardships that we're facing with our children, with our families, and as you do that, keep in mind, whether you know it or not, AI has existed for a very long time. And AI is what has ran social media companies for a very, very long time, like 10, 15 plus years, right? Because AI, that analogy, I have this analogy to like best describe it. So if you pretend that social media is a library, you walk into the library, there's all these books. And there's also a librarian that in a essentially knows all of the books. Let's pretend the librarian has read all of the books, right? So the librarian is the AI. The books are the algorithms. And us walking into the library, we're the users, right? So each book has an intent and it has an outcome based on whoever wrote it, right? So the librarian comes, the AI comes and picks and chooses books for you to see things and to know things, for you to keep coming back into the library, because the library wants you to stay there, it wants you to not turn the screen off. And the most important question that we as adults and children, especially children, face is, what is my purpose in life? Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Who am I? And that question, when I can give you just enough of a taste of what the answer might be, but keep you looking, is why you're going to keep coming back, which is the back end foundation of how currently AI is being used. So it's not being used for purpose, it's being used to distract purpose. It's being used for you to have a lot of screen time. Equally, because in that process, like, we as parents and educators have accidentally created this larger divide between like us and our kids on a connectivity level, right? And even just openly talking about the things that we want in life, the things that we want society to be better, like, we don't talk enough anymore about the problems we face for us to even know how our children feel. And even a lot of times, like, our partners in our relationships. And as that divide grew, we now have added AI chat, the ability for us to just communicate with this AI that has existed, which is even further deepening that divide, because now you can have a secret, in quote, like a secret behind the scenes conversations about how you feel. And we're now even further away from really where we're heading, which is the purpose economy. So my suggestion along this journey for us to best get through the pivot is to understand that if you were going to choose one thing that you need to do today, tomorrow, and every single day, is understand that the greatest hardship and the greatest pain of this transitionary period is the fact that we have indirectly or directly started participating in patterns where we do not create the conversations necessary to give our children and loved ones the safe space to talk about how they feel, right? To actually talk about how they feel about the world, the things going on. And instead, we keep going into our screens and trying to figure out how to feel about the world and what's going on from the screen, rather than talking. And that is creating this massive mental health crisis and this mental health issue that's occurring, because we just keep going back into the library over and over, thinking that it is this all-knowing alien that's going to give us all the answers. But really, the answers are us. The answers are us aligning around what it means to be human, which is us getting along and talking and becoming a family again.
Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode and the continuation of Adrian and I's conversation. If you found this helpful, please share it with a colleague or a family member, anyone you think that could benefit from the information that Adrian and I are sharing with the world to help you, parents, kids, teachers, navigate all of the rapid changes that are occurring in our world today.